Welcome, Dr. Ela Eckert, to this book talk.
Thank you so much, Eva-Maria.
I was happy that you immediately said yes when I asked you to write a chapter about your extensive experience researching education of adolescents. You have been traveling to different parts of the world, visiting schools with the ambition to follow Maria Montessori's Erdkinder vision. Please, Ela, tell us something about your chapter.
Yes, thank you. I said yes directly, since I am so convinced of what I've been researching and so convinced of Maria Montessori's concept for adolescence, which she called Erdkinder, children of the earth. And there was a purpose, of course, with that. And her Erdkinder concept is very different from her other concepts, which may have astonished many people and even myself, because it's not a program like in the Casa dei Bambini or elementary, but it's more like recommendations with cornerstones. And the cornerstones are that she meant that adolescents need a school which is not a school. Well, what is it then? It's a center for study and work in the countryside, she said. And there were a lot of misunderstandings from this idea for many people during many years, because she published her concept in 1939, so that's long ago. And many people said, well, this is old-fashioned and you can't do this today and with today's adolescents. Parents were very doubting if you explained to them what it's about. But Montessori was right, as she always was, because she observed so carefully. And observing so carefully, she understood what adolescents need. They need much more than sitting in a classroom and learning. They need like an environment, a learning setting, which offers a lot of work together, real work, like work with the land, with growing vegetables, potatoes, caring for animals, working together and living together. That is very, very important for this age. And this is what Montessori offered. And the reality nowadays shows that she was so right seeing this, because after, for many years, this concept was looked upon as being very old-fashioned. You can say that starting with 2000, the year 2000, when the first Erdkinder implementation was set up in the States, the Hershey Montessori Farm School, and then the first like training for people who were interested in learning how it is to be looked upon took place starting from 2003. Then many Erdkinder centers were, well, established in many places of the world. And I saw some of them. Some are far away, like the Philippines. I would never have believed that what they do is so authentic, and what you can see that young people do is so convincing. It's really very amazing. So this is what I wanted to show and to write a little bit about.
Yes, and you really did. It's a very interesting chapter. Are there some details that you learned from all your research so far? Something very specific that you would like to share?
Well, something which is very important is that adults who work with adolescents, they need to like this age group. They need to like to work with them, because adolescents are very special in different ways. We know that. And if you are not convinced of you want to work with these adolescents, it will not work. I think this is a very important result. It's important to know, then you should do something else. But if you like to work with adolescents, it's extremely rewarding, because you can see how they react to, well, to your meeting them on their what do you say, they're eye level, on a level with respect and with interest in their character, in their development. So this, I think, is very important. And then, of course, to see these adolescent implementations at different places, and where they are put into a reality in an authentic way, it's always very, very remarkable to see the young people working there. I have been interviewing some of them. I have been interviewing the adults working with them, and also written about some reports, which I originally made for the book, which I wrote in advance. I wrote a book on Erdkinder, which right now is being translated into English. I wrote it in German, and it will be published in this summer. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yes,
and
so are we. And I can imagine that you said it is really challenging for a teacher. I mean, a teacher teaching adolescents, they usually are, I mean, the school for the adolescents are usually very strict, and this is strict in a way, but completely different. So
it's completely different, yes.
You're not standing in front of the blackboard all the time. You have to be out with the children and experience together with them. And yeah.
Yes. And then you see how capable they are, how they are longing for participation and for taking responsibility. That is really very remarkable, and that you won't find in a traditional secondary school, of course, because there you teach like small pieces of this and this and that, and you never see context, and you never give these adolescents the responsibility they need for working and learning.
What do you think should be the next step researching this field? Do you have ideas? What should be done?
What should be done is maybe that nowadays many people are convinced of that the traditional secondary sector is not what is appropriate for young people. Not in Germany, and I think in no other countries. And to take advantage of what neuroscientists and developmental psychologists say about the development of adolescence. And this is really pointing very close to what Maria Montessori observed in her days. It's very remarkable to see that. So her approach is really both radical, and it is really appropriate to this age, especially to the younger adolescents who are the hands-on, who are mostly interested, and it's an approach mainly for them. And then at later adolescence, things change a little, but if they are allowed to, they would like to stay on the farm, but then they need to go out from the farm, of course, into the greater society. Yeah. So I think there is research where you can find similarities, and you can research that. And there has been done some research already by a colleague and friend of mine from the Philippines, and she has written a doctor's thesis on the impact of cognitive achievement, and compared Montessori students with or without Erdkinder experience. So that is an interesting, those are interesting results. And in my chapter, I have a reference to that dissertation as well.
Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and writing this chapter for the Bloomsbury Handbook of Montessori Education. Thank you so much, Ela.
Thank you so much for inviting me to the book talk, Eva-Maria.